Hello, hello. Welcome back to episode 22.
22.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22.
Yeah, I definitely did not sing that like on the right. I don't
Right
know, not
key?
musically inclined. Yeah, and key. I was like, yeah, tune. I don't know.
I was definitely a lower key than the actual song because she sings way high.
Are you a Swiftie? No.
Am I
Have
what?
we talked about? So are you a Swiftie?
No.
We talked. I didn't think so. Okay.
I don't have any mal feelings towards Taylor Swift. I don't consider myself a Swiftie though.
Real.
I only listened to, like, as a kid, like, the songs that went really big, you know, like Love Story,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And then recently, the only album of hers that I've enjoyed was Midnights.
Got it.
Other than that,
I
like,
recall.
it's just not really
Your
for
thing.
me. It's
That's
not really
fair.
for me, or, like, I'm like, yeah, she's good. I'm just not like, oh my gosh, it's Taylor Swift.
Yeah. No, that's
You
real.
know?
I feel you. I feel you.
But I respect the grind.
Respect
I
the
respect the
grind.
talent. I respect her as a performer, as a lyricist, all of those
Right.
things. She obviously has a lot of talent. She seems like a nice person. So, respect for the Swiftie Nation. I'm just not a part of
for
it.
Swiftie Nation. I support from afar.
I
I'm an
do.
ally.
I'm an ally. Just not.
Swiftie
I'm just
ally.
not an actual part of
That's
it.
hilarious.
Hopefully, no Swifties come after me because they are ruthless. Let me tell you what.
Bro.
If you even breathe something negative about Taylor Swift,
They're coming
you
for
have
your throats.
people coming for
Yeah,
you.
no, but we're
ATC's
saying we're
gonna get
allies.
canceled.
So no, we're supporting. We're just I
Real.
think
I don't have
respect
anything
it.
negative to say.
Exactly.
Other than conspiracy theory, I don't believe in her relationship with Travis Kelce. But I'm gonna get canceled for that one. That's okay. My friends that know me already know that I don't buy it.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not saying that it can't be like true love now, but I don't think it started that way, at the very least.
That ought to be a good movie. There probably is one out there. Like two like celebrities like having to like get together for like what's
Yeah,
it called?
publicity.
and then they actually fall in love. And then they just continue with it.
That's a book. That sounds good. Yeah.
I'm reading
I
and
like
watching.
I don't doubt that like maybe they're real now. They genuinely have feelings for
But
each
you don't
other,
think it
but I
started
don't
that
think
way?
it started that way.
Interesting.
And I think if people did more research on how involved the government and the CIA is involved with Hollywood,
Dude,
you'd probably have a different
we need
opinion.
another conspiracy episode.
I'm
soon.
telling you we do.
Soon.
I'm itching for it.
Soon, yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
what is your our high and our low tide?
High
We got on
and
a
low
little
tide.
Swifty sidetrack.
Yeah. Sorry, it's the 22.
All
You had
respect
to.
and all love
All respect and
to
love.
Taylor Swift and her
Kindness
fans.
and peace.
Okay, I love me some good T Swift songs. Okay,
Exactly. That's where it came up because we just had so much love for 22 and it applying. Iconic. Icon.
Real.
Exactly.
And you know what? We'll probably use that song on one of our posts. So
That's so true.
if we really
So
didn't
shout
like
out.
her, we wouldn't support. Come on.
Exactly. All right. So my high tide. Actually, I was just talking to you about this. I didn't realize because I always think I've been trying to be more ahead. I wrote this down earlier.
Oh, right.
But oh well, you get to hear it twice. But it was just I wanted to talk about. So I don't know if we've talked about it on the thing, but the whole summer surge is pretty much every Wednesday at our church. It's like this ongoing competitive like church youth games fun, like getting points, and that's the whole thing. So last week we had our slip inside kickball night, although Hannah wasn't there, so that's actually a low
I was
tide.
out of the
So it's a
country.
combo. It's a low tide, but she was partying up in Bali, so you know.
Partying
She's
by getting massages on the cliff sides of Bali
Dude,
outside.
massage-
That was my party.
massage.
Dude, we got a massage in
Oh.
a cabana off the cliffside.
Love massages, dude.
I do too. And I think Vlad's only gotten one other like professional massage before, and it was after we got married and we did like our first like couples massage.
Yeah.
And I couldn't relax because he was snoring because he fell asleep.
Dude, that's so funny.
But this one, it was so different because, you know, like normally when you go to get a massage, it's like the room is really dark.
Very dark,
There's
yeah.
music playing, that whole thing. But this was different because it was outside during the day, but it was on the cliffside. So instead of music, it was literally
like
listening to
nature?
the waves crashing.
Oh,
it was so nice.
all right. I'm
Anyway,
not going
sorry.
to talk about what I did last Wednesday. This is lame. You're freaking getting
That's what I was
cliffside massages. Yeah, so I don't feel bad. Well, it was a low tide for me, I guess. Hannah wasn't there, but Hannah was doing all that.
High tide for me.
Okay,
But
whatever.
summer surge sounds so fun.
All right. You know what? Let's just move on. I don't even know what I was talking about. No, I will actually talk about it because I'm proud.
You
Slip
should.
inside kickball, which is really dangerous. I don't even know why we play it. It's literally
It's so
kickball.
big. Nobody got hurt,
No
right?
one got hurt. Praise
the
the
Lord.
Lord. But yeah, it's slip and slide kickball. So it's like all the bases are kiddie pools and there's tarps to slide into.
Yeah,
the ball.
when you're running to base, you are slip and sliding, and then
and some people run, and that's what's really dangerous because you're trying to run, and then it's like, yeah. Really fun though, but this is my first year doing it where I was like a captain, I guess. We combined teams. It was really fun, and we won. And
it was me and your team.
Yeah, it was me and Hannah's team.
Woo.
And we won, and we were the underdogs because we were against
the two best,
yes,
quote unquote.
Yeah, well,
or
one
beef.
of the best, whatever. But the captains were very involved, and I thought it was funny though because it was me and Ruth. Shout out our first guest, and we were just like didn't know what the heck was going on the entire time. They were trying to explain all these like baseball rules. I like sports. Baseball's just never been my thing, so I was just kind of confused. I don't have baseball strategy.
Yeah.
So we were really clueless, and then like the other two teams like had these guys that like love baseball, and they were like creating all these things.
They lost.
That's what my high tide is, that we like pulled through. We were the underdogs.
That.
No, I'd be so annoyed if I was them. Like if we were playing hockey or something and I had these strategies and they won. So actually, I don't want to brag about it too much because now that I think about it, if I was in their place, I'm crying because that's gross that we didn't actually know what was going on and still won. But we did. And I've been carrying that win ever since that W.
So is that your high and your low?
That was all my highs.
Oh. Okay.
Once I start talking, I just like start to relive it, and I'm like, actually, that wasn't the best. This was okay. And you just get it all my feelings. That was my high.
So my high and my low tide are also kind of combined, but I'll add a low tide to what you just said because we were talking about this before we were recording.
Yeah.
That my low tide is that when I haven't been at Summer Surge, so we're both leaders like for the Summer Surge. For our teams, and I was gone for the last 2 weeks because I was out of the country, and then I got to go see a Broadway show before that, and I had the tickets for like months, so I was like, I can't be there.
Right.
And Ruth was the substitute leader for my team, and let me tell you why that's unfair. For those who listen to the Ruth episode,
or just know her,
or just know her in general, or even know of her, you know that she's literally the best person,
the most perfect human,
the most literal perfect human being
walking the earth.
And so for her to substitute for me, and now my team is probably like, wow, she's so much better, and now they're stuck with me again for the next isn't there only like 2 weeks left?
Yes,
that's crazy.
That's crazy.
They're probably like, oh, we get you again. Yay. Stop. Can't wait. Dude, so excited. Hilarious. Like, I know, even me, I want Ruth to be the leader of my team now. I'm like, you're just so much better. Like, you're amazing. But besides that, my high and low tide combined is that, like, summer's over.
Okay. Wait.
By the time that this episode is dropping, summer's over.
I'm gonna cry. That's actually
so summer's sad. Over and schools have probably like officially started.
I don't think I've done anything on my bucket list. Remember that episode? I don't think I did one thing.
I'm telling you. We barely played pickleball. At least I did.
That's actually really bad.
I only played a couple
That just
times.
reminded me of a low tide.
How was I playing more pickleball when I had the busiest schedule of my life?
Oh.
And over summer I barely did.
I know.
And it's been such a good summer, but I feel like I was barely home.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I got back from Bali, and it's like, I have this week, and I'm jet lagged and recovering, and I start my new job on Monday.
This Monday?
Yes.
Ah!
What? Which is like, it's a high and a low tide combined, right? Because I'm like, oh, summer is over, but I'm also like so excited for this new chapter of my life, and like to start something new, and to honestly get back on a routine, because I thrive on routine,
right?
And I have not been thriving not being on a routine,
right?
I just I like it for like 5 days, maybe a week, and then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go back to work,
right?
Like, truly. So I like summer's over, which is like, wow, it went by so fast. Like, Ireland just feels like it just happened, and that was at the beginning. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy. And then it's like, but I'm like, oh, wow, like, I'm not going back to school for the first time in my life, which I know I've brought that up a couple times, but it's so crazy to me. And now I'm starting in this whole new journey with coaching and this other new job, and, trying to figure out what my new schedule is going to look like. Like, it's going to be so different from anything I've done before. But God has opened up, these doors and these opportunities, and I'm really, really excited about
for
what's next. But it's also like, it's really scary. It's bittersweet. There's definitely, I see people posting for like their classrooms and talking about going back to school, and like, I think of my kids, like, And I, like, there's definitely parts of it that I'm going to miss. And then there's another part of me that is, like, so relieved that I'm not doing that.
Right.
It's just, it's very the definition of bittersweet for me. Like, I'm so happy to in this new chapter and moving on, but it's also so scary because it's completely out of my comfort zone and doing new things.
Right.
And I am normally someone that does the same thing and stays in the same realm and doesn't, I'm not a risk taker. I'm not. Like, if there's a chance of me failing or well, I shouldn't say failing, like, I don't like the unknown. Yeah. You know? So it's like most of the time I would stick to what I know.
Right.
But this is totally different. Right. So I'm really excited though.
Dude. I'm so excited for you, but that is insane. I didn't realize it came up so soon.
It did.
Like, we literally were talking about, like, our bucket list, like,
I don't know if any of it was done.
No, definitely wasn't.
I don't even remember what I said. I'm going to have to go back and listen to that episode so I can hear
about
like how
last
I failed.
Week, go crazy. Rest of this week, we go crazy. No, that's wild. No, but actually, speaking of schedules, and I guess this is kind of related to summer, my low tide is my sleep schedule, Hannah. It is so bad.
You think yours is bad right now?
I know.
Jet lag is nuts.
I know.
And my
but
sleep
like that's what I'm saying.
So
at least you have a reason.
Bali.
What am I doing with my life?
That's
like
real.
why
what are you doing?
is my sleep schedule so bad? Bro, I had to set an alarm to get here at noon today. I had to set an alarm for 10:30. That's how bad it is.
I cannot imagine.
That's how bad it is. Like, I literally don't have, like, there was a recent night, I didn't have anything to do. Tell me why I didn't go to bed till 3 a.m. And then I woke up at like noon.
Okay, there were times.
I got 9 hours. Like,
there were times in Bali when it would be like 1 o'clock in the afternoon and you were liking my stuff on Instagram and I was like, why are you up?
Oh, girl, that's like I was barely into it. I was barely into my night at 1 a.m. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so bad. Like, I'll just be up and I'm watching TV. Like, I'll just be on TikTok and then I look and I'm like, bro, time goes by so fast. I don't know what it is.
Okay, I'm gonna tough love time. I'm gonna tell you what your problem is.
I don't know if I can handle this. I don't know if I can handle this.
And I'm gonna tell you how to fix it. Because here's the thing. You know who else has a terrible sleep schedule?
Who?
My husband.
Okay.
And it's bad because of his job.
I was gonna say, you guys have reasons.
But he doesn't prioritize it when he's home and he doesn't have his job as an excuse. Right? So like when he's at work, it totally makes sense. His sleep schedule's all messed up. He's getting up multiple times at night to run calls. And then when he gets home, like, you know, I try to go to bed in between 9 and 11 p.m.
Oh.
And I've been trying to go to bed earlier, like 9 to 10 instead of that 10 to 11.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, okay, I'm going to bed. And he's like, yeah, okay. I'm like right behind you. I'm coming to bed. And he'll like watch YouTube or like he'll be scrolling until like 1 o'clock in the morning or so. And then he comes to bed and, you know, like he hasn't been prioritizing his sleep. And he's been training really hard for this program that he's trying to get into and trying to like work out and do some intense things. And I'm telling him, I'm like, you're not going to get the progress that you want if you're not sleeping. Sleep is the foundation of your entire life. That goes right into what we're talking about today. Your low tide is right on the money.
I didn't even think about it.
That's God.
I'm telling you. But also, just to defend myself a little bit, the thing is I don't have anything to do in the mornings.
Right.
So then I just sleep till like 1 p.m.
Yeah. So you need to, number one is you need to set a routine where, I mean, I know school's probably starting back up soon. Yeah. So maybe it'll change. But like, make yourself like, go on a walk.
That's what I'm saying.
Do
just
some yoga.
Bro.
Like even yoga on like YouTube. Do some stretching. Or something to force yourself to get up because like your circadian rhythm, like going to bed and waking up at the same time is like so good for you and it's so important. And you're not tired because when you scroll on social media, you are getting little dopamine hits every time you scroll.
That's funny.
And it's terrible for you.
LOL.
You're getting little dopamine hits and it's keeping you up, and then the blue light as well is messing up your melatonin production. So you're not going to be getting tired.
No, my problem is like I'll go home, especially if it's like after pickleball or like a night of hanging out or something, and I go home and I'm like, oh, the last thing I want to do right now is like take a shower and wash my face. You know what I'm gonna do instead? Go on my phone. And then I'm like, oh, I still don't want to do that. So I'm like literally exhausted, but I just don't want to do my skincare routine. So I'm literally just, guys.
Yeah, you have to like you have to get off your phone.
Struggle busting. Don't throw it away.
You gotta get off your phone. And even and I've been getting on to Vlad about it too, for both of us, is like trying to turn off our phones like at least a half an hour before bed, like setting my alarm and getting off of it, because that blue light messes with you so bad. If you get caught in that scrolling cycle and you're getting those dopamine hits, you're not gonna be tired. And so some ways that you can help we started to drink tart cherry juice at night. Tart cherry juice naturally produces... Is
tart a brand, or is it tart, like flavor?
That's the flavor. It's the type of fruit, the type of cherry. Tart cherry juice. And it helps your brain in the natural production of melatonin. Really? So it's a little bit better than taking actual melatonin if some people need to, and like I totally sympathize with that. However, if it's not a necessity... which you don't, once you fall asleep, you don't have trouble sleeping, do you?
No. Okay, like, so then once I hit my pillow, I'm out.
Yeah, you're out.
Once I do my skincare, I'm done.
It could help start that process a little bit earlier, because if you take melatonin from an outside source, your brain will stop producing it. Because it's like, oh, I don't need to make it because I'm going to get it from this gummy or whatever, however people take their melatonin. So then when people stop taking melatonin, they can't sleep and they become reliant on it because their brain has stopped producing it on its own.
Interesting.
But the tart cherry juice is a natural way to help your brain start up the production of melatonin. Oh. So I'm having Vlad and I drink a cup of tart cherry juice. If it's too tart for you, you can dilute it with water.
Right.
And drink that to help your brain.
Cherry juice
it'll
shots.
Probably take a couple weeks for it to start, you got to be consistent with it. Like with any supplement,
with anything,
vitamins, whatever, you have to be, consistent with it. But that could really help. Or some CBD supplements too. Obviously nothing with, teeth. I'm not talking about weed, but CBD has a lot of medicinal benefits, including helping with sleep. Interesting. But it's going to be getting off your phone. And if you want, sometimes I also, at Crunch in the evenings, I go and I sit in the sauna. It's got a lot of health benefits, and that can also help wind your body down for sleep. Oh, yeah. So, I'll go in the evenings. So then that way, maybe 6 or 7 p.m. And then that way, I can go home and start on my nighttime routine.
I love that.
And everything like
that.
Get a
sauna. That's all I heard from that.
Yep. Or you can also start doing, a workout in the afternoon because you'll get tired. And it'll, kind of wear your body out. Those things to help. Yeah. Real. Also, reading. Yeah. Reading, when I start to read, right before bed, which has, become a part of my routine, I start to, doze off. You get tired.
Sleep, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's good for you, so.
No, that's fair. All right.
Lots of things. Even if you're reading your Bible.
That's true. Yeah. So true.
That was a really big sidetrack. Guys, but those are both about high and low tides, right? That was it? Yeah. Okay, so into our mana segment. So the whole, if you couldn't tell, the whole purpose of this episode
it's is so funny that we weren't even we haven't even started talking about actually what it's about.
But we did in a way. Is talking about the power of rest. And this is such a real. I thought you were gonna say R-E-S-P-C-T.
I was going to, because in my mind it made sense because it had the same first 2 letters in the last, but it didn't work.
The first 3.
All right, I'm leaving. cut the microphone off. Cut the recording. I'm actually done with. It has every. All right, cut the freaking. All right, Hannah, continue that mana. I'm gonna be listening from over here.
You haven't.
Guys, it's because my sleep schedule sucks. I'm just kidding.
No, and whose fault is that?
All right. Let's not point fingers, guys.
Let's not point fingers. So the whole point of this episode, which clearly Mia needs it, is... don't we all, though? Is the power of rest. Yeah. And this applies to so many different areas in life. Can you take a guess? I'm going to be talking about it in a gym sense after the mana, but it's very spiritual. And so we wanted to talk about that part of it with our mana segment. And when I was looking up verses that talk about rest, I couldn't just choose one because there's so much talk about rest in the Bible. It's insane. Even these 4 or 5 verses that I've chosen, it doesn't stop there. There's so much more. So I'm going to give you a little bam, 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 bam of all of these verses. So write them down, make a note, highlight in your Bible, whatever you need to go back and maybe read the whole chapter. Context. Matthew 11:28. Then Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." So good. That's probably one of the most popular ones. Yes. And who here listening is not weary and carrying heavy burdens? And if you're not,
silence.
You will.
You're lying.
And God will give you rest. The next one is Hebrews 4:10. For all who have entered into God's rest have rested from their labors, just as God did after creating the world. I love that one. Come on. All right, we're going to break these down in just a second. Exodus 34:21. We're going Old Testament.
Let's go.
You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work.
So true.
But on the 7th day, you must stop working, even during the seasons of plowing and harvest.
So true.
And then, I just lost my... Oh, here we go. The last one, Psalms 91:1. Those who live in the shelter of the Most High will find rest in the shadow of the Almighty. So the whole point is like, God talks about rest a lot. And we live, I would say, in the Western world, in America especially. We live in this society now where the grind is really pushed.
Right.
That 9 to 5, work. If you rest, that's weak. And if you want to be successful, you need to work until the day you die.
Right.
And I'm not going to lie to you. I really don't think that 9 to job office style life is what we were originally created for. We were intended to work and work hard, but it was mostly about taking care of your land and your family, right? Like that was when, if you go back to like the original, roles of husband and wife, husband is the protector and the provider. He was going out, he was hunting, he would, be able to physically protect. Maybe he's taking care of the land in some way. For the women, we're homemakers, and that is not an easy job. Any stay-at-home mom knows that is a full-time job, to take care of a home, to cook, to take care of the family and kids, to be gatherers, whatever it was, if you look back way back in the time. And we were constantly working, but it was a different type of work that connected you to God's creation and connected you to people and your family and in the home. And life is just so different now, where it's even pushed for women to be business women and don't care about family and you don't. And it not that I don't want to give the message that being a businesswoman or not wanting to have kids is a bad thing, right? Like not everyone is called to the same thing, and that's fine. But I don't like the message that gets put out that rest equals weakness or rest equals laziness. Rest and laziness are two very different things. Yeah. And the main difference is in the mindset and the longevity and purpose of the rest. So, and I think that that's really important. So, I think we live in a society now that just glorifies this work grind to the point, like, it's kind of what I mentioned in the last episode with like teachers and like how much they just kill yourself on a physical level, of how much that you dedicate yourself to this job to the point where you neglect your own health. Yeah. Or some people think, well, I need to work. I need to stay up till 2:00 in the morning working. Even as students, you get in a bad habit of working until way past midnight, working on these assignments, staying up till the break of dawn the day before a test, cramming in for studying, right? And we don't prioritize rest. And there are so many consequences for not taking care of our bodies and not giving it the rest that it needs. Yeah.
And I like to think of it too, like if there's one person that you would think that would never ever need rest, like you were saying, is God. And in that verse, even he rested. Like this went back to before the world was even created, well, after the world was created, obviously, because it's the 7th day, but like before there was any order of anything, before there were people that did have jobs and responsibilities, like God gave the example of rest, gave the representation of how important it is to rest. Like it's just so crazy to me. Like now that I'm even like saying it out loud, like the God of that made the heavens and the earth went through each day, 6 days, created something different, and then on that 7th, like he chose to do nothing. Like what?
And do you know how much responsibility and things God has on his plate?
That's what I'm saying.
That's why if you tell me that you're busy,
anyone should have an excuse to not rest, it's God. And he did, and I love that he just is constantly like setting an example, even before Jesus, walked the earth and really lives, like obviously had that human like lifestyle so that he could relate to our temptations and everything. Like even before that, like God has just always showed us an example and how we should live and just set it up for us because he knows it's best for us. And it just all comes back to like that he is such a good father, that he will, everything he does teach us and tell us, it is for our best interest. It's not just so that he can tell us to do this and this.
Yeah.
But it's because he loves us. And I think it's so amazing too, is that the God that set up the perfect representation and example of how to rest and what it means to rest is the one that offers the best rest. That goes into the next verse. Like when we are weary and heavy burdened, when we do need to find that refuge, God provides. Like there's no one that's going to be able to provide that rest better than him, because he knows that he created it. He created us, you know, like it just all correlates so beautifully that he rested and he created rest, and he invites us to find rest in him.
Yes. And
so cool.
It's a different type of rest than just sleep alone can provide, right? It's a rest from stress.
I think it goes beyond physical rest.
It does.
Which people like relate, like, oh, rest, I gotta go sleep, you know?
Yeah.
Like spiritual, mental, emotional rest.
And that's actually a really good point, is that there are multiple ways to rest.
Yes.
And rest looks different. Sleep is number one, but it's not the only way that you can give your body recovery and rest. Yes. And we can talk about different ways that we rest, or different ways that you can rest, to help with those things, but the type of rest that God talks about, I feel like it's rest in a way that you can't get from anything else that this earth provides, right? Yeah. Because we are so overwhelmed with our burdens and with the things that we have to do, and worrying about tomorrow, and paying for the bills, or, you know, getting an A on that next paper, doing well at your job, trying to get that promotion, whatever it is. And we're so we have that need to be in control, and God takes that burden away.
So good.
You know, he's like, you can come and give these things to me. He's our provider. Again, where he was like, look at the birds, look at the flowers, like, so you see how they're taken care of? I will take care of you. Give it to me. And that kind of rest, that kind of weight that is lifted, is not something that anything in this world can take, or can give to you, or take away from you.
And he does it not expecting anything from us. I think that's what's so cool too, because like even if you were like trying to find like refuge in this world, like it all comes at a price, it all comes at a cost, you know. And you know, our rest did come at a cost, but it wasn't something that we paid. Like we do literally get for free to find this place to place our everything into, to cast our anxieties onto, and our stress and our burdens, you know, like his yoke is easy and his burden's light. Like, so, how amazing is that, you know?
Yeah. So if you are, you know, a Christian and you struggle with rest, understand that it is biblical. In fact, it is obedient to rest. God, it's not a suggestion. He tells us to take a day of rest. Even the verse where it says, even in the time of the harvest. Think of a farmer. Honestly, probably the hardest job that you can have is a farmer, because a farmer is never not working. Imagine it. Like, how can a farmer really go on vacation and take time off? There is constantly a season for something, constantly animals, things that you have to replant, take care of. The plants are in constant need of care. The animals are in constant, need of care. Farmers have a crazy high workload. It's nonstop. It is your whole life, and it's the kind of labor that is from dusk till dawn, truly. And even God said, even in the season of harvest, what you could argue is probably their busiest season, that you were to take a full day of rest. And when you look at the Old Testament and what kind of rest that they took on the Sabbath, we're not talking about just not working. They weren't supposed to cook. You had to cook the night before. They had to meal prep. Because even cooking was viewed as an act of labor. You weren't allowed to walk more than, like, I don't know, like 3 miles or something like that.
That's so insane.
Like, they would go to the well and, like, get water beforehand so you didn't have to walk that much. Like, you were literally meant to stay in your home, be a recluse, and like, literally genuinely sit, rest, and recover, and take the time to worship the Lord. And, like, that rest is a form of worship, because you're taking a moment away from your work and you're trusting in God that everything is going to be okay the next day.
That's so good.
And giving that, like, I can imagine as a farmer, like, not wanting to take this day off because you're in harvest, and like, what if something messes up? What if you don't get the plants in time, or, you know, whatever. I'm not a farmer, so I don't know how all that works, but you know, taking this day off might be a huge loss.
Right.
You know,
but you have to trust that God is still providing. But you have to trust
that God is going to take care of you.
Because his word, like, you're still following his word, and if you're following his word, you'll know that he's going to reward, you know, those who earnestly seek him.
So just know that it is obedient to rest. And I am someone that I have now, I am someone that unashamedly, I don't know how to pronounce that, takes their rest with no guilt or shame.
Right.
I have no qualms about telling people no, about saying, like, I'm too tired.
That's so important.
I need to rest. It is important because we do live in a society where there's like a, okay, lazy, like I said in the beginning, or like, okay, like, you're not gonna grind, and and it doesn't mean that you're not a hard worker. I have good work ethic. I am a hard worker, but I also understand the power of rest, and it's not something that I take lightly. You know, and I ultimately have come to the understanding and have seen myself overworked and the consequences that come with that, and knowing that ultimately I cannot perform as my best self without taking the rest and the time that I need.
And it comes back to, like, God didn't just tell people to rest just for fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't say these things so that he can just tell people what to do. Yep. But it's because he knows that, like, if you find rest, you're going to better, you know, rely on him, obviously, and better perform when you actually are recovered and, you know, rested up and can go back to your daily life, you know?
Yeah.
Reminds me of our last episode when we were talking about, like, teaching, you know? Like, if you are constantly working, bring stuff home, then you're not going to be able to do the best you can for your kids the next day, you know? Yep. Like, it all comes back to, like...
They reap the consequences of it.
There is a benefit to rest. Even though it might not seem like it in the moment, like, you just have to trust.
Yeah.
Same thing with, like, all of God's commandments, all the things that he has kind of spoken.
Yeah.
We have to trust and rely on that is better, and he wants what's best for us.
So I thought, as we get into, like, the meat of the episode, I looked up sleep deprivation symptoms and what happens when you don't rest. And then we can move on from there, because I think sometimes some people, you know, those workhorses, the people that don't stop, I think sometimes, like, not only do they need the gentle reminder that, like, hey, God needs you and wants you and has called you to rest, but also... I think the biggest reason why people don't is because they're afraid that, well, I'm going to lose my performance.
Exactly.
I'm going to miss something. I have to work.
FOMO.
I can't miss this day. Yeah, you know, but I think sometimes it's important to look at the consequences of what happens when we don't properly rest, and why it is actually not beneficial for you to continue working even when you need to rest. So... sleep deprivation and sleep insufficiency often produce many symptoms. I guess I should define what is sleep deprivation. Experts reserve the term sleep deprivation, number one, for going a whole night without sleep or sleeping very little for 1 or 2 nights. What people often refer to as sleep deprivation in casual conversation is called sleep insufficiency. That means that they either sleep for a shorter amount of time than their body requires to stay healthy, or they have low quality sleep due to sleep disruptions. So we're not only talking about not sleeping at all, which I know some people don't. Maybe they have insomnia, they have a job, you know, that doesn't allow them to, whatever it may be. But we're also talking about people that are getting low quality sleep or just simply not enough. And it says about 20% of U.S. adults sleep less than 5 hours a night. 20% is a lot.
That's insane.
That's a lot. Dude. Less than 5 hours. Even though experts recommend at least 7 hours a night. In the long term, this lack of sleep can come with steep consequences. So, let's talk about what those consequences are. Symptoms: reduced alertness and slow reaction times, which is why they say that driving sleepy is just as bad as driving drunk.
Yeah.
Trouble paying attention, right? So let's say you're a student and you're up late trying to cram, or you're trying to work really late. Even like teachers, you're going to have trouble being alert the next day. You're not going to be fully there. Reduced cognitive ability and impaired logical reasoning. So you quite literally cannot function at your highest self. Mood changes, including irritability.
Ooh, mood swings, yeah.
Heavy mood swings, anxiety, depression, poor judgment, brief daytime sleep periods, so you're crashing during the day, unplanned naps, reduced quality of life, and reduced social activity due to tiredness. It says when a person is not... Oh, that's Milo. My DoorDash is here, or my Uber Eats is here.
That's funny.
Yeah, my food. So when someone experiences sleep deprivation for a long time, they may find themselves sleeping longer on their days off of work or days without social plans. And the thing is that what happens is I'm so sorry for the barking, but your sleep cycle is so thrown off that like you think you're making up for that sleep while taking naps and stuff, but your circadian rhythm is all thrown off. Yeah. And your circadian rhythm is how your body can recover. And I remember this was something that I learned in therapy, was that there are 3 huge things that humans are chronically deprived of. And I believe I might have talked about it, but one of the number one is sleep. Humans are chronically underslept. Humans are chronically dehydrated, and they're chronically deficient in magnesium. And I believe it was what my therapist told me. It was a crazy statistic. Like, I think he said like 20% of people that struggle with anxiety and depression would see drastic improvements, if not full recovering from their mental health issues like depression and anxiety, if they were to take magnesium on a consistent basis.
Wow. What is magnesium found in? I don't even know. Like
some different foods.
Yeah.
But you can just take it as a supplement alone.
Real.
So I have a magnesium supplement, something that I try to... Goodness, he's just my little guard dog. Oh, I'm so sorry. So I try to take magnesium on a daily basis as a supplement. And, to stay hydrated, they say however much you weigh, cut it in half. That's how many ounces you should be drinking.
Interesting. Yeah.
So if you weigh 150 pounds, you should be drinking at least 75 ounces of water a day.
Yeah.
And then you have to take into consideration how much you're sweating during the day, right? So if I'm working out in a warehouse in Florida in the summer with no AC, I'm sweating a lot. So I need to be drinking probably closer to like 100 ounces of water a day. You don't need to go over a gallon. That's excessive, but probably like a half a gallon at least,
right.
Depending. Or if like you're going to go out and play pickleball at night or during the day and you're going to be sweating a lot, like maybe drink an extra bottle of water or whatever. So people are chronically dehydrated, and we've talked about this too, where it's not just the water, it's your electrolytes. People are dehydrated because they don't replenish their electrolytes. A lot of people think that hydrating is simply water. No, it's not. It is not just water. In fact, you can dehydrate yourself by just drinking plain water all day, every day. Yeah. Because your electrolytes are made up of sodium, magnesium, and potassium. And when you sweat and when you pee, you are getting rid of your electrolytes. That's why your sweat is salty. And what happens when you're drinking plain water is you are drinking water, but you're not replenishing the sodium, magnesium, or potassium. Hey, magnesium. Hey. You're not replenishing those things. And then when you drink a lot of water, what do? You pee.
Yeah.
And then you're peeing out more of your electrolytes, and it's not being replenished. So you can do a couple of things. There's tons of little supplements that you can put in your water. I love Element. It has all 3 of those things. Even Gatorade has like Gatorade Zero, where they have just like their electrolytes that you can put in your water. You can also drink coconut water. That's got natural electrolytes. Coconut water with some lime juice. Oh, that's perfection. I even have started putting lime juice in my water with my electrolytes just for little extra boost.
Yeah.
Because it's really good. But people, like even some people can just take pure pink Himalayan salt and just put it into their water.
Okay.
And you don't put enough into where you taste it.
Oh, I was about to say.
But I highly suggest looking into something that you can put in your water to make sure you are replenishing your electrolytes, especially during the summertime. Depending on where you live in Florida, it's necessary.
Yeah.
And I only say that because getting in this whole power of rest thing, because your body will be able to recover better when you are hydrated. It'll also probably help improve your sleep as well.
Yeah.
Which is how we can recover when we're asleep.
Yeah.
But just to go over all of those consequences that happen when you don't get enough sleep. So you think that you're doing the right thing, by getting more hours in, by working more, by staying up late to cram. And studies show no. No. A night before a test, you know what you know. Once it's 8 p.m., you need to start grinding down to go to bed, because the best thing you can do to perform well on that test is to get proper sleep. Yeah. Or else your brain quite literally cannot function.
Yeah. No, and I think, like, even going back to what you were saying, like, those 3 things that, like, the humans are deficient of, I feel like it's not a coincidence that it's those 3. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were saying, like, okay, we're not hydrated, but then also don't have the magnesium, which is going to lead to less sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like, they all kind of correlate. You know, to just think about, like, the greater health of you completely.
Yes.
But, and then also even talking about these consequences, like, even if they're not necessarily as extreme, I notice even, like, performance-wise, like, if I'm not getting enough sleep, like, it's literal, like, immediate evidence that you are not performing as better or as great as you could.
Yesterday, because I'm very jet lagged right now, and yesterday was pretty bad. Like, Vlad and I went to Publix to go, like, stock up, because, you know, the house was pretty empty because we were gone. So we went to Publix to, like, stock up on food and all those things. And we're walking, and I had told him I really was craving, like, eggs and bacon. Mm-hmm. So we went to the bacon section, and there was this one brand that was BOGO. So Vlad was like, okay, Hannah, get, like, 2 packages of this brand of bacon. And I just, like, grabbed 2 packs of bacon, 2 totally different brands. And I just threw them in the car, and I was like, all right, let's go. And Vlad was looking at me, and he was like, that is not the same. Like, are you okay? And I was like, I couldn't even tell. And then we went into another aisle where, like, they have, like, hair care. And Vlad uses, like, pomade in his hair. And he picked up this one little bottle that looked like pomade. And he was like, hey, like, can you read this and tell me, like, what kind of pomade this is? In all capital letters across the front, it said beard butter. And it was in the beard care section. Yeah. And I looked at him, and I was like, Vlad, this is beard butter. You don't have a beard. Yeah. And he was like, I swear to you, I couldn't read that. Bro. We were that sleep deprived. Yeah. And
isn't it a thing, if you get, like, sleep deprived enough, you can start, like, hallucinating. Like, you literally are, like,
you can die. That's what I'm saying. That's what, it's so bad for you.
Dude, that's crazy.
And I'm just putting this out there. How much of a rise in mental health, or I should say a decline in mental health issues would we see if people started sleeping for 8 hours a night, drank their water with electrolytes every day, and started taking magnesium? Yeah. Because I am someone who also struggles with mental health. I have sympathy for that. But my sympathy runs out when you stop doing everything in your power to take care of yourself. Like, I don't want to hear about all of these issues, and then I look at the core foundations of life. The number one, if we look at the pyramid of our needs as humans, the number one foundation, besides the Lord, am I right? He's my foundation. Right above God is sleep. Sleep.
No, yeah, I'm telling you, like, I remember even, like, the feeling of being tired and, like, feeling sleepy is probably, like, one of the worst feelings ever. I cannot tell you how many times, like, I regret, like, my lack of, like, sleeping the night before when I'm, like, especially with family or something, and, like, I'm annoyed because I'm tired. Because you're irritable. And I just want to sleep. And, like, I'm not even talking to people because I'm, like, just dead. Like, I'm mentally checked out. Yep. I absolutely hate it. And just talking even based off of the other forms of rest, too, that aren't necessarily sleep. Like, the amount of times where I've just been, like, so busy. Like, whether it is just
you're not having a chance to mentally rest.
Yes. And I found that I become very irritable, too. And I absolutely hate when I found myself giving my all to, like, everything I'm out doing, like, whether it is hanging out with friends or volunteering at church or, like, just the different things that I'm not working, but different other things that I'm doing, whether it is school, whatever. And then I will go home, and then I'm just, like, annoyed with, like, my family and stuff, because I'm like, okay, this is, like, my, like, I am giving them what's left of me because I haven't actually recovered and, like, regrouped to be my best in every aspect. Like, I hate that. And, like, you look back to, like, I'll literally regret certain things. It's because, like, what the heck am I doing? Not actually resting up and do what I need to.
It's important for people to understand how to get sufficient sleep, right? Because there's plenty of people that think, well, if you just get the hours, that's enough. And that's the best place to start. Right. But it doesn't end there. There are so many things that you can do to help improve your quality of sleep. Getting off your phone. Turning off the blue light. The blue light is not good for you.
I'm so glad I don't have a phone.
you know, for me, at night, like me and Vlad, like we always call our house like a cave because we don't really use lights. We use the sunlight during the day, and as the sun goes down, like we close the blinds and we have like one like warm light on in the house. It's very dark, but it sets your brain and your body, hey, it is almost time to go to sleep. Yeah. And I'm trying to get, you know, better about turning off the phones. But also, it's going to be like, if anyone consumes alcohol, you might think that after consuming that, you sleep really heavy, but you are not getting quality sleep. Alcohol severely reduces your body's ability to recover.
Interesting.
So keeping in mind that being unconscious and getting restorative sleep are not one and the same. Just because you're unconscious does not mean you're recovering.
Right.
And studies have shown that like alcohol severely reduces your ability to recover. In fact, it does the opposite.
Right.
So even though you're quote unquote sleeping, you're not recovering.
Right.
And we want recovery. That's the goal. So limit alcohol use. I mean, there's multiple benefits of limiting alcohol in general, but you know, if we're talking about rest, that's a big one. And you can do things like an eye mask. If you're super light sensitive, I have to sleep with an eye mask because if there's light, I won't be able to sleep. And it shows that even if you're not super light sensitive, people get higher more sleep quality when they sleep with an eye mask and white noise. White noise is also great for that. So I don't quite know the science. I don't know if it's like something that like helps just shut your brain off.
Yeah. You know, there's in your settings, there's a thing to do white noise in your phone, like the sound settings.
That's cool. So we have like a Google, like our Google Home.
Yeah.
Like tablet thing, and it plays rain sounds for me at night, so I go to sleep listening to that.
See, I hate the rain. The rain
really?
keeps me up. I don't know what it is, but no,
everyone's different.
Just was gonna say, if you do need a white noise machine, it's on your phone.
That's really cool.
Look it up.
Even
how to actually find it.
Spotify, when we were in Bali, our room didn't have like a fan or anything, and there was no noise, and I was like, I need to play white noise. There are so many white noise, rain noise, brown noise, tons of different types of white noise that you can play in the background of when you sleep. It's probably going to show up on my Spotify Wrap, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. So I listen to that every night. So like Spotify, YouTube, you know, you can, and even on Spotify, what's nice is you can set a timer. So, you know, you could find a white noise playlist and then set it to stop playing in an hour.
Right.
You know, so nice. By the time that you fall asleep. So, you know, those are lots of options. But we should talk about like ways that we get rest outside of just sleep.
Yeah.
But also knowing too that when it comes to sleep, is being on a consistent schedule is also key to the best restorative sleep that you can, because that's what sets in your circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm is your internal body clock. Right? So back in the day, before alarm clocks, we would get up and rise with the sun, and we are getting up and going to bed basically at like the same time, you know? Yeah. And it gets to a point where you don't need an alarm. If you ever have been consistent with your sleep and you start just waking up at the same time, that's your circadian rhythm. And you get tired at the same times too. And when you're consistent, that's when your body is also consistent with your melatonin production and releasing it at the same time. So that you get sleepy at the appropriate times and you wake up at the appropriate times. Right. So I've noticed, because I have a Whoop, which if you don't know, it's a wearable fitness health tracker, and it tracks my sleep. And one of the biggest factors for sleep quality is consistency of the time that you go to bed and wake up. So even if I'm getting 8 hours, but I went to bed 2 hours later, it still messes with your sleep quality because you're throwing off your circadian rhythm. Right. So there are days where if I have nothing to do, sleeping in is actually counterproductive. Because even though I'd be quote unquote getting more hours, I'd be throwing off my circadian rhythm. Right. So even if I have nothing to do, if my body is naturally waking up at 7 a.m., get up. That's your body naturally waking you up. If you were to go back to bed and then wake up, you're going to be super groggy and annoyed because you go back into your REM cycle and then you're interrupting it and you didn't completely finish it, and then you feel like garbage, which is why a lot of people think that when they sleep in, they feel even worse. It's because you're not listening to your circadian rhythm and you're not consistent. Interesting. So try to go to bed and wake up at consistent times. Even on the weekends. try to go to bed and wake up at consistent times. So if you don't have work, okay, because I promise you, I know it sounds like, oh, but I want to sleep in. I get that. I promise you, but you're not going to feel better. And it's not going to be productive for you. So get up and take a walk. Do some yoga. Do some stretching. Maybe listen to a sermon. Have some Devo time. Take the time to cook, meal prep. Like so many productive things. Read that you could do in the morning. And the morning is such a good meditative time of day.
So peaceful.
It's so nice. But what are your ways that you like to rest when you're awake? Like, but you can still rest and recover.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think thinking to what we're talking about with the manna, I think obviously the best thing you can do to rest is find your refuge in God, because it is the just source of all that is keeping me sane, you know? So definitely when I'm feeling like I want to like pull my hair out, spending time, devotionals in the Word, just praying, you know, or even if necessarily I don't, like it feels like too much to like study the Bible or like to actually have words to pray, literally just going on worship music and like letting myself just spend time in God's presence, making it intentional, I think is so important and so beneficial for me. I think really just, again, spending time by myself is a big thing, but I never like to, I guess, completely just spend time by myself. That is how I build myself up. I think also being an introvert is a big thing too, because I do like to spend time like at home and just chilling. But if I am, because I've found myself almost feeling not rested when I am spending much time by myself, you know? So I think that can work in certain situations. But I do want to talk about, because this is like one of the best pieces of advice, like my mom has always said, but it's just like if I am ever feeling in a funk, or I am ever feeling like, oh, I'm drained and like I haven't been like completely rested up, whatever, she's like, look to others, you know, like do things for other people. I love that. Which I think people can associate with work, but I think when you kind of think of it as like you are also benefiting from getting your mind off of yourself and your problems, like I can be rebuilt up from that, so you know?
It's a perspective shift.
Exactly. So those are definitely things. So I think when it does come to like obviously spiritual rest, I do spend a lot of time with the Lord. And again, it doesn't have to be like something that you perceive as work. Like if I am like writing like a 10-point sermon, you know, like that, or I can literally just put on worship music, you know, or just spend time in prayer, and that will kind of build me up there. If it is like mental, sometimes I do need time to myself, or sometimes I do need to, you know, help others. Like I think it all is just so different depending on what's going on and what
also
I need.
like what type of rest you need, right?
Exactly.
Or like what type of like if you need spiritual rest, which I feel like we do every day, but especially if you're feeling really spiritually drained, right? Then the solution would be to spend time with the Lord, right, and or fellowship,
exactly,
going to church, maybe volunteering, giving your time, serving, anything.
And I think it's so different for everyone too, because like even like we were talking last episode, like we can say these things, I could say things that worked for me, and you might do it and then be like, why don't I feel rested? Because everyone's different, you know, like that's that good. May not bring you that like peace, you know, that you're looking for, that kind of rejuvenation.
Good. And sometimes you need like mental breaks and mental rest. Like, so for me, you need all three, right? You need rest for your body, you need rest for your mind, and you need rest for your spirit. You need all three, but you know, different things that you can do. If it's spiritual rest, you need to get that from the Lord and only for the Lord, and that spiritual rest will play into the other types of rest as well, I believe. But when it comes to me, like for mental rest, like when I was teaching, I would go to the gym every day right after, and let me tell you, we talked about that in the motivation versus discipline episode, that I would go even when I really didn't want to, because I was so physically exhausted. But the gym was my mental rest. Obviously, I was breaking down my body and I was pushing myself in a physical sense, but mentally, that was my hour of the day. That was my only hour of the day that was to myself.
That's so good.
And it was for me to take care of myself and do something for me, and to turn my brain off and just move. And I think everybody needs to do that as a mental escape. And for some people, the gym doesn't give them a mental rest. For a lot of people, it does. And a lot of people work out for that mental escape, which I think is an awesome way to do that. And that could look like yoga, stretching. It could look like going for a walk. It could look like, going to your class like I do, or going to the gym on your own and listening to your music. But for some people, it's by being creative, right? Some people love to paint and express themselves. Some people like to write or to scrapbook, or to knit, whatever. Right. And you're still being it could be physically draining, but it's a mental escape from you. Pottery, like whatever it is, like where you can just like give yourself, you're doing something for you. Reading is another big way that I find rest, because it's also a way to physically rest without sleeping, because reading, I can lay down, I can sit down, and I can kind of like, it's like almost physical and mental, because I'm also like escaping into another world where I'm like, you know what, I don't want to deal with today's stresses. I'm gonna read about dragons and whatever. Real. Whatever I might be reading about. And for physical rest, I think it's also important, as like, a lot of athletes know the term of like active recovery. And it's a way, because sometimes sitting and doing nothing after a really intense workout is almost worse, because your lactic acid sits in your muscles and it's what causes you to be sore. So, sometimes with the movement is medicine. Now, that doesn't mean that you go really hard the next day. It means you go for a walk. It means sometimes I might go to the gym and I just bike for like 30 minutes, really slow pace, or row for 30 minutes, really slow pace, playing pickleball. Going swimming is a great one. You're not going crazy, you're not going hard, but you're moving your body in a way that can actually help release some of the tension that is built up in your muscles from a really intense workout. So whatever it may be, like needing to find rest through reading, through light and easy movement. Stretching is a great one. So when you stretch, you could listen to worship music. You could listen to a podcast. Wink, 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 wink. You could listen to an audiobook. Right. If you're someone that doesn't like to read, listen to one. Right. Even Spotify now has tons of audiobooks to listen to. So like that's a great option. There are so many different ways people can find rest that doesn't have to include sleeping.
No, I agree. And I think obviously coming from someone that does sleep quite a bit, I've even found myself like I will get the sleep that I do need and I'll feel like physically rested. But if you're not having that mental, check mark, like how am I doing in that way, or that spiritual kind of place that to be good at, it will make it very, very difficult to function and live the best version that you can of just yourself and how you treat others. That's what keeps coming to mind. Like if I'm genuinely so exhausted, like I will treat others horribly. No, it's so true. But that can even be like I was saying, like I can get all the sleep in the world because I am lately, but if I am not having that mental rest and that spiritual rest,
there are so many times where like I'm almost sleeping too much and you don't feel rested.
You get like all sluggish.
You do. And that's the difference, right? When we talk about like the difference between resting and lazy, right? It's all about like the intention, right? Because when I'm resting to recover so I can be my best self the next day. Yeah. Lazy, you have no aspirations and no goals. Right. Right? And then you end up feeling very sluggish. And I read this quote the other day and it was so good and it's so true, that when you move, you will end up craving movement. When you don't move,
so true,
then you continue to not want to move.
That's so true.
Right? So that's like, again, back to like motivation versus discipline. It's like you gotta sometimes force yourself to crawl out of that hole and get your body moving, because once you start moving on a daily basis, you will crave that movement. And because if you don't and you get lazy and you have no aspirations and no discipline, your body will stop craving the movement if you don't give it to it.
You're just gonna stop with that altogether.
And all of the health problems that come with that. So I don't know about you, but I am like ready to rest. Just kidding.
And it was like midday. Let's just go. Sleep.
I'm ready to get some spiritual rest. We're gonna go lead at church, and then I'm ready to come home, and I'm going to get some physical rest.
So true.
Especially after I'm still jet lagged, so I definitely need it. But I hope that if anything, this can help anybody that struggles with feeling guilty over resting and or struggles because you're afraid that other people will try to guilt trip you, right? For taking rest.
So important.
But you can, I mean, there's science behind it, and if you are a believer,
biblical.
It's biblical. Mm-hmm. So do yourself a favor, tell those people to go read an article or two, and then tell them to read the Word of God. Send them a couple
verses and send them a couple links.
Yeah, the articles to read, because it's very easy to look up why you need proper rest.
Facts.
And find things that give you an escape. A healthy escape.
Yes.
And focus on your magnesium, your hydration, and your sleep, baby.
And you'll be
Tell me you don't feel better.
I love it. All right.
Bye, you guys.
Bye. Toodaloo.